Hey everybody, Goose here, bringing you some Starcraft 2 action, this time in the form of a cast. Not normally something I do. For those of you part of the Discord, you'll know that I've been gathering replays over the last, I don't know, 3 years-ish. And now we're finally getting around to casting them. So, spawning up here in the top left of Pride of Alteris. That's right, Pride of Alteris. Remember this map? Yes, you do. We have Gooey Geek, who is Count Archvile from the Discord, playing as Terran. Used to play Protoss. I think this is when he was first starting to pick up Terran. So yeah, we'll see how he does. Open it up with the barracks. I'm sure he'll get a guess. And then the bottom right, we have King Louis, not to be forgotten. Kind of opening up similarly. No gas. It's double gas for Archvile, and it's no gas, single gas. You know when you see something queued up like this, it's gonna be an interesting game. I'm told it is kind of it is a TVT, but it's one of those TVTs that's like you're never really gonna know what's gonna happen next. Which, as we know, TVTs can kind of be like the most snooze fest games, or they can be honestly some of my favorite games to watch. I know that sounds funny to say, given the state of TVT usually, but they can produce some really really insane games. This is going to be a kill. That is something I do. A little bit of an overreaction, I think, from King Louis here, but good to know he's not slipping on his macro at all. He actually starts up 5 Marines in response to not having made one for a second there. Yeah, TVTs historically have been like very boring. But I will say there was an era there. Oh, here we go. This is going down now. Oh my god, there's no running away. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, TVTs historically have been quite the boring matchup. Unless you have like Proxy 2X versus Proxy 2X. It's possible to have exciting games come out of this matchup. And especially back in the day, like a Heart of the Swarm TVT looked so different than a Wings of Liberty or a Legacy of the Void TVT. So it is possible we can have a good game. I don't know what the game plan is for King Louis here right now. I see no orbital. I see, I don't see like an expand or anything. I'm not getting much of like a game plan from him. The fact that you see like a queued up depot means he has no intention of using those minerals right away. Actually he is using them right away by queuing them up. But he'd rather them be in this proverbial bank as opposed to, getting more SCVs or a orbital or whatever. He actually is going to do exactly that right now, which is good. We got a little bit of a... I mean, this almost looks like a fake, Like someone comes up here. I'm not sure. Would they get the scout off before dying? Like, this bunker is a little far. You could probably get to about here before you start getting attacked. Your vision might actually catch there's nothing there. But I think that's the general idea here. Is we kind of have a one base something. Reactor, starport, and not a lot else. And now we're going to take the natural anyways. But at least it kind of hides the idea here. If someone were to poke up and die before they actually got the scout off, you would just assume this is a normal expand with maybe a little extra protection. So there's kind of a game plan happening here. And we're going with Vikings. Okay, I guess this is just tank Viking. I don't know. I haven't played Terran in 14 years. It's been that long since I last played Terran-ish. About that long. That's not true. It can't be 14. It's got to be like 12 or something. I did the math recently, but obviously I've since forgot. I've been playing Protoss for a long time. I definitely was playing Terran in Heart of the Swarm, though, so it kind of tells you right there. But even still, I don't think I've ever had a solid understanding of any like build orders. I just make Marine and attack with Marine, man with gun. Pretty good. We're starting to see some development here from Blue. This is like such a staple in a beginner player's build is to have an eBay. He is using it, which is nice. A lot of times you see an early eBay and they turn their main into like a planetary or something. So at least we're not getting that. This is at least a little bit more normal as we see 7 on gas, 6 on gas, 5 on gas. Okay. Still 5 on... Okay, there we go. He's getting there. He's getting there. He's focusing on it. He's using his 17 effective APM 0 to pull off of gas, which is That's always all right. So we have the first Viking attack here actually coming in right away. Even though it was reactored, it is just one. And he's just going to get a little poke and then dip. Probably assuming that there's going to be some blue units, you know, maybe attacking, you know, maybe... Okay, well, he does get the SCV surrounded, and surprisingly, that was a lot of damage. So he does deflect it. Now he's going to have to do some real math to figure out how many to put back on gas. I know he wanted 7 at one point, and then he decided against that. And in response to seeing 1 Viking, we now have 5 missile turrets going up. Okay. He really doesn't want to lose to 1 Viking. So he also doesn't want to win with any amount of units. So he's making 3 Cyclones now, which is good, but like honestly, not much of a game plan here. Just kind of like slow in response to things as they happen to him. And Terran, typically you want to like approach a game with some kind of game plan. You know, do some kind of like 2-base all in or something. Anyway, Gooey Geek Count Archvile is going to come back and repair up his one. He's getting a lot of gas here, not a lot of minerals. He's going to repair up his 1 Viking. Coming home, a I don't know, Medal of Valor recipient or something for getting 4 kills this early in the game by himself. Like, that's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of Vikings. We're seeing, I guess, a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And not stopping there. No tanks. No, we got tanks in front. So 2 tanks in front, not continuous tank production. I don't think this is some version of like tank Viking. I'm just seeing a lot of focus on the Vikings, not a lot of focus on the income side of things. These honestly just seem like, you know, kind of the aforementioned type of eBay. It's actually not getting used for any ground upgrades, so that to me doesn't really scream bio play of any type, right? Even though you come up here and you see 2 eBays, you're like, oh shit, he's going bio. I think Archvile has a completely different plan this game. I think we're seeing exactly what the plan is here. I don't know, I could be wrong. Yeah, we're seeing another starport go down as well. I'm hoping, is this it? Is this the commitment here? It's going to be tough into this many missile turrets, so we'll see how he kind of handles that. Maybe he saw the army there. Okay, well, he scanned anyway, so he for sure knows, and he's watching. We're in the shoes of Archvile himself. He's actually dipped out of the way of the missile turret, except for this one. Poor unfortunate soul in that Viking gets shot down by the 1 missile turret. So overall not a very effective attack, but I see the idea. I see it. I see the idea. Well, he gets a lot of scouting from that. He sees the entirety of the army. He sees an abundant overreaction to, you know, his initial harassment, and he sees the lack of a natural. So it could be that, you know, just like a Terran should, on an attack, even if you lose, you know, whatever amount of resources, you actually get a good amount of intel from that. So from that, we'll see what he kind of does. He's gonna fully commit. Okay, and we see the armory upgrades. He's getting ship weapons level 1, so he is committing to I don't want to say mass Vikings yet. Maybe it is. What even is this? I should know what that is. Hang on. Is that the upgrade for the Cyclones? I wish I could see it. Hang on. Do I just not know? Doesn't it pop up on the right here? Anyway. So it looks like he's committing to some other... Oh, you know what that might be? That might be... Hang on. I don't know what version of Starcraft I'm living in right now, because A, I live in the past in general with games, but B, we're in like 2026. And C, this replay's from 2022. So I'm all screwed up on the timeline here. Is this the upgrade that allows you to transform quicker? There was one at one point, so that was for like Hellbats. I think, was there one for mines? Did they overlap like that? I can't remember, but at one point there was an upgrade for transformation speed. I don't think it's like Viking landing speed though. So I was gonna say this looks like at least some commitment to some other units, but really we're seeing tanks for defense, we're seeing a planetary for defense, we're seeing a lot of Viking production, which I'm excited to see. Let's take a look at the incomes here. Yeah, so Obviously, blue's fallen dramatically behind. Just, I think, honestly, even just by not just the 4 kills initially, but his own macro is kind of taking a hit. He is dropping the mules, and he is getting, well, another 6 on gas again. Not quite quick with the selecting 3 and then getting rid of 3 and getting rid of 3 into the gas. He's still got to pick up on that yet, but yeah, so the income's definitely heavily favoring Archvile, and we're seeing a huge commitment. He's got +2 coming here. So these could start putting in work. I'm not going to lie. Vikings, I found out recently, are insanely good. Since this replay's come out, they've actually gotten a lot cheaper as well. I believe it was 25 cheaper on the gas. I think some on minerals too. Like, I think they're just overall cheaper. This is a winning fight, honestly. As long as you, like, stay away from the Cyclones. I'm shocked he's actually losing as much as he is against those 3 Vikings. Like, you could come in here and just kind of stack and then pot shot, and then, but Vikings aren't really the quickest to fly away either, so once they get targeted, there's not a lot you can do. So this is definitely an army that can fight these Vikings. Now he's gonna have to watch for some kind of counter attack. This is a completely exposed base. He's gonna get a lot of kills here. That Viking can't even do anything now. Nothing to fight in the air besides this one, which I think is still trying to land. This is absolute destruction of this mineral line, though. This Viking is going to go down. He is going to come back. He might even pick off a couple of these Vikings. Yes, 1, 2, 3 Vikings might go down. He's focusing the medevac. Will he get that last Viking? He does. So he even kills all the Vikings and 1 medevac. Losing a lot there, but also leveling an entire mineral line there. And considering that was basically the only one left for blue, King Louis here, that is huge damage. Really. I think at this point you have the income and you have the production to be able to max out on Vikings and make this work. So I'm tempted to see if if that's gonna work out. Hang on. So we do have upgrades though. There is a discussion of the upgrades. We almost have +2 and +1 armor for the bio of blue. And we already have +2. Are we getting +3? Hang on, let's go to production. Probably should have had that open the whole time. He's focusing a lot on these upgrades. I would like to see a second armory for sure. If you're going to commit into this, you might as well have 3-3, especially if you have a really strong economy behind it. We're going to see these Vikings come in here one more time. Even though there's 2 missile turrets, those are going to go down immediately. There's so many Vikings, and he's kind of getting caught at the ramp is King Louis. There is a Thor out, which is going to do a lot of damage to these Vikings if they're clumped up. The Marines actually make it back into the main. Kind of a light harassment there, but you can tell the prowess of these units is there. There's a lot of strength in Vikings, especially in mass numbers like this. It's not something to be laughed at. I mean, I had a buddy who used to exclusively go mass Vikings, and he would play kind of like this, where he'd make a big cloud of them. There'd be like 7,000 Marines down here, and they would be relatively useless. But if you're able to multi-prong harass, if you're able to not stack up versus the Thors, if you're able to dart in, get a lot of damage done, and then dart back out like we're seeing Archvile do, they're going to be effective. And especially with +3, he's halfway done that. You got to make sure that they're all together, though. I think that was his control bind had, or his control group had half of his army in there, but he is still getting some damage done. And look at this, he's just going to dart back out. You might even pick off a Banshee on the way out. Look at that. Boom. Excellent job. And then these, I think this is an older version of the Cyclones where they don't really get to retarget as quickly, but yeah, so this is another juicy target here. We're not seeing any capacity to expand. I mean, typically when you're on the back foot, you don't want to like expand in place. You really want to put it in the main or whatever, but that's exactly where he's getting hit by all these Vikings. It's actually kind of insane. He's doubling his supply almost. There's a lot of SCVs now still. So part of that is in that income. There is still a hefty army value here. We got 88 to 62, 88, 86 now of Vikings coming into the main. The blue Terran is kind of stuck on his own ramp. There's only a few Marines firing. Everything else is getting caught behind. There are some Thors in the mix, and they are shooting. Not quite as effective as they would be targeting a mass clump in the air. Thor is obviously doing big splash damage, but they're only able to hit 1 or 2 at a time. When they're stuck behind the army of blue, they're not really able to get a lot of damage off. So The army of blue looks threatening compared to these Vikings, but it's really not being utilized as much as it should be. And look at this. We have just more and more production of these Vikings. This is such an entertaining playstyle. Like, normally you see siege lines and you might have a little bit of Viking action in between each, you know, siege line, picking off, you know, whatever. Someone eventually ends up having, you know, a larger Viking count, picks off liberators, picks off medevacs and stuff like that. This is going to be dangerous, though. This is a big cluster. There's 2 Thors. Yeah, this is a lot of splash damage. So I think this is the thing he's trying to avoid. He doesn't really want a straight up fight, especially given that there's those Thors. They aren't going to be as effective if they're on the ground like this. The Thors, that is, because it's going to just be individual attacks. And you know what? Archvile's happy to throw this away. That was a lot of losses. See if I can do this. Boom, there we go. So in total, he's lost more, but he's also mined more. So he's happy to make these trades. He's completely gotten rid of the production of blue, and now he's gotten rid of the army. And this is just like a systematic dismantling of blue. Initially by economy, then by production, and then by army. And once you've done damage in 3 areas like that, really it doesn't matter what you make as long as you're spending your money, which he is. He's got a huge income. He's producing. He's got +3 attack. I think he can still get some upgrades. Hang on, the upgrades normally show up right there, don't they? Anyway, I believe he's still... I gotta figure out how to do that, though. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's just a periodic thing, I guess. Anyways, I believe he could get some plating upgrades, which would help him out. But really, for what he's done in the game, he's put on an insane amount of pressure with just Vikings. Yes, there are tanks. There's been 2, I think, this entire game, unless those 2 are still... These are the only 2 tanks he's ever made. Otherwise, this has been an entirely Viking-based army. And I think this is going to be it. Honestly, you can make a final push with this. You've already devastated his production. He's got next to no minerals. He's got 800, but really, like, he's going to have to put that back into production. The tanks are going to siege up, and the Vikings are going to move in. This is going to be the last fight, I believe. Those Thors are going to go down to the last things left. 1 Marine dies, obviously. And the rest is just all these STVs. That's the juicy underbelly of the Terran army once those, you know, usual tanks or some kind of major front line goes down. And that's it. That's GG. Count Archvile bringing out the Terran and winning in such a cool fashion with mass Vikings. That's something I haven't seen in a hot minute, and last time I saw it, I made fun of it. But well done to him. That's a big GG, and we're on to the next one.